Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Grande Bouffe.
The big feast!
With myself, Cole Smithey, and my co-host, Mike Lacy. As we do every week, we are here to copiously consume international politics and culture through the prism of a single film and a different craft beer each and every week. Hello, Mike.
We got a weird one this week, Cole.
Yeah, I was thinking the radicalization of grief. How grief radicalizes people.
Ooh, like it. I will say that this gave me a very successful Instagram video, and I think really needs to be turned into a GIF, is the dance sequence of Robin Wright breaking down to "What a Man" by Salt and Pepper.
Oh yeah, with the boom, with the big boom, that big gigantic boom box sitting on a milk crate.
She is doing this sort of dance that
with no bra.
With no bra, that is like such a
white girl dance.
Such a white girl dance, but not quite Elaine. Like, she's sort of like, she knows she sucks, she's owning it. It is the pinnacle of a character doing something naturalistic and interesting in this film, and everything else falls so completely short, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's funny that you brought up that scene, because Catherine and I watched this movie this past Saturday night, and it took about 3 cocktails for me to get through it. I have to say, there were some breaks. I had to go make popcorn in the middle of the movie.
It took like 2 days, honestly.
Yeah, it's rough going. But I'm glad that you brought up that scene, because that scene is such a keynote example of an actorly manufactured scene in this movie that Sean Penn, who wrote and directed this feature debut, stuck into the movie because he needed this kind of actory thing. And who's the guy?
The main character.
The main character. Who's the guy? What's his name? The actor.
I was gonna ask you to look him up.
This is our second podcast of the recording session of the evening, so we've already got a beer in us. But he David Morse. David Morse, and he sits down and leans against the wall. It's the actor stuff that they tell you never to do in acting class. Never lean. You ever hear that about acting? Like,
no, that's great though.
Like, if you're an actor, don't lean on anything.
He comes in and he just crumples to the floor. The world's largest man. He looks like a pro wrestler. Just crumples to the floor.
So he can get underneath her, Robin Wright, doing her sexy dance, and.
Well, she's trying to pull him out of it. She's trying to like, just let's not feel our feelings that much. Let's just dance. And it's a cool choice. It's a good choice. I think she's doing well, but she's working with shit. And Jack and Angelica are working with shit.
Oh my goodness.
And they are throwing every angle they can at it. But it reminds you that you can have the greatest people, but if you're just working with shit, what you're going to get is very well sculpted, interesting piles of shit.
This movie is a dog. If you haven't gotten the gist of it, I don't know if this thing is in the Criterion collection. If it is, it certainly doesn't belong there. There is a scene that happens between Jack Nicholson and Angelica Houston, who were married briefly before this movie and had gotten divorced just before they shot this movie. So there's some underlying real stuff going on.
I knew they were friends because Angelica Houston showed up at Jack Nicholson's house shortly after Roman Polanski.
When you were eating spaghetti that time?
When I was eating spaghetti that time.
With Jack?
Jack was gone, but actually Roman was there.
Oh, when Roman had the place. Yeah, right.
Roman was there.
Right before he got busted.
Raped a 14-year-old in a hot tub, and then Angelica Houston showed up because they were dating, and then they got married. So there is a happy ending.
Yeah, in fact,
to
I think
that
Angelica
story.
was the one who called the cops. Is that right? No, I guess it was...
believe she did not call the cops.
No, she did not call the cops. You're right. It was the girl's mom after the girl got home a few hours later. That's right.
Just interesting to throw this sort of like human backstory into these actors.
So much backstory. I love Robbie Robertson in this movie. Robbie Robertson has a little role as Angelica Houston's husband,
who's got an interesting like, hey man, stop hitting me. Let me make you some coffee.
Everything about this movie is so actorly. It's Sean Penn really bending over backwards, doing all sorts of gyrations to try and show off his actors doing their actor thing in this faux LA setting that feels like Philadelphia. It feels very East Coast the way he's shot. Of course, he uses Miloš Zsigmond, the great cinematographer, Miloš Zsigmond. So everything about this movie has credibility to it, except its execution.
It just reeks of its pitch meeting. You know what I mean?
Oh,
the
Lord.
Weinsteins that are on it, and you just we got Jack.
Got Jack Nietzsche doing the music for it.
Jack Nietzsche, yeah, dude, I totally. And
everybody working for free. I bet nobody took a paycheck.
We've got Jack. We got Angelica. We got Robin Wright. We got
the
David Morse.
You know about David Morse?
About David Morse? He's amazing.
Yeah,
He's amazing.
He'd only done off Broadway until this movie. Like, this was his breakout performance.
He's gonna hit it so big. He's gonna be amazing.
And he also did show up in Dancer in the Dark.
Who wrote it? Great question, Harvey. I wrote it.
Did you see Dancer in the Dark?
I haven't seen Dancer in the Dark.
Is that
our next one, Trier?
Catherine hasn't seen it either. I wonder if it's on Filmstruck. I'd love to do it.
Actually.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we should totally do it.
Yeah.
Totally do that one. He's great. David Morse is great in that movie. Unfortunately, I can't say that anyone is great in this movie because the script is so god-awful.
What's it about? And I feel like this is one of those movies that, unlike the last one, you can do it in about a sentence and a half.
Go for it.
Guy gets out of jail for a hit and run of a young girl. Her father is out to kill him.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson has since divorced Angelica Houston, the mother of his 3 children. He's all hung up on his dead daughter, doesn't give 2 shits about the 2 boys that he has. I don't even know if we get a glimpse of them in the movie.
Yeah, the movie equally doesn't give a shit about them.
Yeah, so
they could afford.
He has 2 living children who
actors are expensive, Cole.
who he could be paying attention. That's what I hear. Who he could be paying attention to. But no, he's just hung up on revenge. He really wants. But he's not so hung up on revenge that he thinks about things like oiling and loading his gun, his sidearm, before going to execute his mission that he has ostensibly been waiting 8 long years to execute.
His character is highly characterized to be a type of character who I have no idea what this character is supposed to be. So
he's such a throwback. This is a guy, he's a jeweler. He owns a little 2-man jewelry shop somewhere in downtown LA near the barrio.
But he's like a wise guy. Like he spends all his nights at the strip club with
his MO is
with these Scorsese characters.
He hangs out with his bros, his man bros.
Who are like mafia style Goodfellas. Like
each and every one
out of central casting. Literally, a lot of the guys are those same actors.
Casting, yeah. So he hangs out with them, and that's where he pulls his dolls from. That's where he gets his girls to go back, and he sleeps with them.
Now, I thought that was some of the more interesting things is his relationship with these dancers, and they're all actually. You could see Sean Penn sweating over making sure that they seemed like real people, and. As an ensemble, none of it really fits together, but all of the dancers were fairly interesting, unique characters. My favorite being
the one who plays the song.
The one who plays the song, which was a totally cool song. Yeah, and it was
very
like
80s. I liked it.
Very 80s, really great. I liked their keyboard with the lights that were going. And it's Mia and Freddie. She had kind of a Phoebe from Friends thing going on. That was really a fun, super weird piece. There's part of this movie that, like the Robin Wright dancing, I kind of love, and on its own is something that if you saw a clip of on the internet, you'd be like, what the fuck is that movie? And then you watch it, and it's like a flaming pile of dog shit with a couple highlights.
I'm disgusted with myself when I watch this movie now because I saw it back in '95, the same year that Breaking the Waves came out. It was a good year for movies. And I remember thinking that it was a decent movie. How wrong I was. I didn't really become a film critic until about a year later. So it's a good
you
thing.
got taste.
It was a good thing I wasn't really putting my opinions down on paper for all history to look at.
There's something, although it like predated it by about 10 years, if not exactly 10 years, there's something real Crash like about it. Not the Crash we like, the other Crash.
The bad Crash with
bad
Matt Dillon.
Something sort of a Los Angeles morality tale talking about both sides of it. And it really lays it on heavy when our sort of second co-protagonist, who's David Morris. David Morris is getting out of jail. He is the one who is guilty of the hit and run of the young girl.
Which was an accident.
And his crime is driving away from the scene of the crime.
Right, he hit and run. So it really wasn't his fault, as it turns out, that he hit the girl. What was his fault was that he left the scene of the crime.
And he is really putting in his dues to be reformed, but also has a bit of a death wish. And so when Jack Nicholson busts in on him the first time trying to kill him...
All right, I have to correct myself. I know that I introduced this as Sean Penn's directorial debut. That's not true. That movie was The Indian Runner in 1991.
Oh, so he had 4 years of experience under his belt.
So maybe I was confusing this movie with The Indian Runner. I'm scared to even consider watching The Indian Runner.
Maybe
now,
it's great. You know, which
also stars David Morse and has Viggo Mortensen.
Wow. Well, we talked about this rule that your first movie as a director takes you 30 years to make, and it tends to be sometimes pretty good. Your second movie takes you 4 years instead of 30 years to make, and it can be real shit. And so maybe The Indian Runner is excellent. This seems like doesn't it strike you that he's already pretty detached from humanity? He's writing characters based on other movies and these weird versions of humans that he runs into in Hollywood. And he's writing a movie about the everyman.
Well, and he's writing he obviously he's friends with Jack, so he's writing for Jack and he's writing for Angelica, and he's thinking, oh yeah, and Robbie Robertson, I know Robbie Robertson. Just FYI, Crossing Guard has a 6.3 rating on IMDb. Indian Runner has a 7.1 aggregate score. So Indian Runner is scored higher than this movie, but I would give this movie a zilch. I would give it an F.
Yeah, it
just is a complete failure. When I look at movies to grade them, I think of does it achieve what the director set out to achieve? Does the story complete where its narrative demands are laid? And this movie does not do that.
So, unlike the same session we were dealing with Antichrist, which is a bit of a mystery to unravel where it's going. It gives you this anxiety of trying to figure out what is the mystery that you're trying to solve. This one, so quickly, you get these real heavily dropped conceits and cliches. And Jack's character, for example...
He's such a cliche.
He's obsessed with the murder of his daughter, but he's never been to the grave.
He wears a black suit and a white shirt through the whole movie. Wardrobe had nothing to do for Jack's wardrobe.
He's just that kind of guy. He's that classic guy. He's that sort of old school sort of, he's more New York than LA, but he's out of his element, He's from another generation, this guy, and he's trying to comprehend this grief. He wasn't taught.
He's not a touchy-feely person. He doesn't cry. He doesn't do any of the stuff that you're supposed to do if you're an evolved human being.
And I would say Jack's doing as well as he can.
Who's the protagonist? Because
great question.
Because to me, the real protagonist is the guy who got out of jail.
Yeah,
is David Morse's character.
Yeah, he does seem to be. He's going out.
John Booth. But he said John Booth, the guy who shot Lincoln, right?
John Wilkes Booth.
So, but he sadly does not get much screen time, and there's one sequence that he has where he has these dumbass sunglasses on, and he's doing the macho Arnold Schwarzenegger "I'm ready for you" thing in his trailer. It's just so lame. It's just so lame.
His actual arc was kind of interesting, and well, the way he was playing it was kind of interesting. It's very cliche when I think about it, but he comes out and he essentially has. I take it back. It's not interesting at all. He has a death wish. He's okay with dying. He gets the love of one good woman. You know, he spends one night and he realizes he has something to live for.
But he doesn't really care. It's really not that. It's really not all that.
And and it kind of all.
She's an artist.
It all unravels in a rather convoluted chase sequence.
Oh, Jack gets. And let's talk about the chase sequence. Now, here's something that I don't think we've ever addressed, which I learned in screenwriting class, is that almost every movie that you see involves some style of chase scene.
Antichrist had a chase sequence.
Sure it did. This one has the worst chase sequence I've ever seen.
It's real bad.
It's so damn bad. You got David Morse on the run from Nicholson's character, who's a 3-pack-a-day smoker.
Who himself is on the run from the police.
Who himself is on the run from the police.
For a DUI.
And, I mean, I could have lost that guy in about 5 seconds.
David Morse.
David Morse just milks it.
The man who looks like he could step into the WWE. He's the fittest motherfucker.
Oh, yeah. He's been working out daily in the pokey.
He's 2017 swole. He's not 1995 swole. The scene that you were talking about where he's in his trailer and he's pulling out the gun, his guns are outrageous. Yeah. They are the Rock level. It is out of control. It's out of control. When he stands next to Robin Wright, it looks like he could pick her up and clean his teeth with her.
That's right. Yeah. No, it's so absurd. The chase sequence, the lead up to the chase sequence, how Nicholson's character escapes from the police. The whole thing is just, it's all so implausible. And the way that Jack treats Angelica Houston, he's such a misogynist pig. They have this one scene that you think has promise when they're in the diner.
Scene. I blinked during that scene and suddenly it had shifted.
Oh yeah, it shifted. No, and
I wanted
for no reason at all. Yeah. There's no beats in it. I mean, it's if you were gonna, if you're working in a writer's workshop and you're writing scenes for the class to perform, and that thing you put that thing in front of the class, that teacher would chew you out. You'd go home with your head in your hand.
It was like there were two different takes.
I hope you die. I hope you die. Where did that come from?
It was like
I thought we were friendly. Where did all this Everest come from?
It's like there were two different takes. The first one, they're this affectionate couple seeing each other for the first time. And you know how you know that they're seeing each other for the first time? Because they say to each other, I see you for the first time. They use this therapy language that there is no reason to expect that they would be saying to each other. They are telegraphing their feelings instead of showing them. These actors, they're doing what they can, but they're just leaving set and be like, oh boy, this one's a stinker. Oh, he's a good kid and he knows a lot of the right people, but he really needs to spend some time workshopping this shit.
And the movie, it has a little therapy scene that it opens with John Savage pouring his heart out in a group therapy session because he lost a loved one. And he's a broken man. So everybody in the movie's broken. It's a bunch of broken people living in Los Angeles that hardly looks like Los Angeles at all.
I hadn't really thought about that, but you're completely right. It does feel like they could be in Philly, they could be in Baltimore, they could be anywhere but Los Angeles.
Yeah.
They didn't even get any stock footage. Of all the cliches to miss, you realize how much you do need the stock footage helicopter shot of the city to cut away from. Instead, it's just these wide shots of Jack walking in slow motion.
Slow motion in the pejorative sense of the word. I mean, as I said in the last episode about slow motion, just don't do it. You're not Sam Peckinpah. Don't do slow motion. You're not Lars von Trier. Every rule is there for a reason. And until you've mastered all the techniques, don't just go doing some stuff. I showed you, I did a video recently about the axial cut, and it's something that Hitchcock and Kurosawa both used a lot. You don't see it too much in modern filmmakers, and I think it's because they're too insecure. They don't know how to use it.
I think they've all gone to film school and they're taught not to do it.
That's probably true.
And for the most part, they shouldn't.
And for the most part, they shouldn't. And you can see in this movie where Sean Penn does it. It's when the characters are walking off of the boat, where David Morse is coming off of the boat with his pal, and he uses this axial cut, and it's
define
it's
an
terrible.
axial cut.
So
for
axial, it's really people call it cutting on action, which isn't exactly what it is. It's a way of speeding up the tempo, or folding the action so that you either are moving closer to it as it's happening or farther away. There's a clip of Toshiro Mifune's character where it's in a medium close up, and then the next scene that you see, suddenly he's already moved 15 meters down, and he's jumping up and down the middle of the road. It happens in of course one of the most famous uses of it is of course in the shower sequence, which theoretically Psycho, which theoretically every film student studies ad nauseum.
And there's often a lot of, you don't jump to a different angle necessarily.
Not necessarily.
You typically don't.
Yeah.
You can hide action and progress of time when you jump to another angle. Where if you punch in or pull out, it's very. If you watch, if you have the benefit of having footage and you can try these different things, it's an extremely different psychological experience to just jump in and out, and you're much more conscious of that cut when you go in, where whatever the illusion, and it's always important to think of the bizarre, weird illusion that is filmmaking, whether you believe with some people that it's because it's based on how dreams work and that we have a language for it on that in dreams we more often will jump to a different vantage point.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you talk about the dream aspect, because that's very clearly when you watch Antichrist, that's something that you really have that experience where you have that, you feel like you're having a dream. You're really experiencing that dreamlike quality. And that's what movies do best.
And I think dreams are excellent at adding an element of atemporalness. I actually get bored in dreams, but I have very weird dreams where I just go to the bank and I try to set up different. I think my waking consciousness is.
All my best dreams are in the morning.
Yeah, but for the most part, dreams are atemporal, and you're not really conscious of the passage of time. You don't have a sense of boredom. And when a movie is making you bored like this one, it's making you think about time. You're losing yourself. Yeah, it's very undreamlike. Is one way to. Yeah,
you don't have that experience in Antichrist.
No.
You do not have that
experience.
You
might be uncomfortable and not want to be there, not want to be watching it.
Yeah.
You're not bored.
No.
You're not looking at the clock. But this one, you are. And why? And I think it's because there's such a lack of through line to the universe, to the characters.
Well, there's a lack of intimacy. There's just a refusal. Thelma Adams, who we had on the show, was critiquing the critics at one point. She was talking about why Owen Gleiberman and Glenn Kenny are not good film critics. And maybe I'm telling tales out of school, but so be it. And she said it's because they don't know themselves. And that's what I feel like about Sean Penn. I feel like as a filmmaker, he doesn't know himself. As a human being, he doesn't know himself. So he's not able to give you the truth that he imagines. Whereas somebody like Von Trier knows himself very well. And here's the thing that I hate. I hate this shot. There's a shot where Jack Nicholson is walking, and it's a little slow-mo, and it's a 180 surround, maybe even more, where the camera is following him in a 180 pattern. It's just awful.
It's straight out of like a Hollywood remake of High Noon or something.
Oh, it's just terrible. It's unwatchable. It just sets you like if I was editing this movie, I would take all this out. All this would just go. That's cutting room floor.
Yeah, I would be much more interested in a shot just tracking the back of his head as he went in there, or just tracking his eyes and revealing where he is.
But there's no intimacy. And I have to say it because we just did Antichrist, where the movie it must have, I'm guessing, 5 or 6 sex scenes in it, where it's real. It's a full on sex, and they're having intercourse. This movie has the worst sex scene I've ever seen in any movie. Do you remember it, Mike?
It's him with the dancer.
No, it's with David Morse and Robin
Wright. I think there is a sex scene also with Jack and.
Oh, okay. But the one with David Morse and Robin Wright is just terrible.
What do you know what relationship Robin Wright and Sean Penn had at this point?
I'm pretty sure they were together at this point. I'll double check my info.
It is written like a role that you write for your girlfriend that you're just completely infatuated with. And there's something magical about her. I won't shit.
She's a great actress.
I will say
I love her. She's terrific.
You comparing him to Von Trier.
Uh-huh.
I will say his characters tend to be shades of himself in strong ways. In a way that's a very interesting self-absorption. These characters, none of them are actors, although they're all very much saying and doing things in an actorly way. But you're seeing a curiosity in the specifics avenues that life goes down, and he's trying to throw them all together. I brought up the not good yet Academy Award winning Crash. It has that sort of melting pot. Let's get wealthy people, poor people from the wrong side of the track. Let's get exotic dancers. Let's get family people, and let's show
get
how
the Asian gay guy.
Yeah, let's throw it. Like, let's make it diverse. You know, although it just comes off as like horribly offensive.
I believe that Sean Penn and Robin Wright met on State of Grace, which is it's a co-director film. Phil Junot and Michael Lee Barron made in 1990, and I'm almost afraid now of any Sean Penn movie to go to retrospectively say that I think it's a good movie. I think this is a good movie. I remember really liking it. It's got obviously Sean Penn, Ed Harris, Gary Oldman, John Turturro, Burgess Meredith. It's got a great roll call.
Can you write down Sean Penn's directing filmography? I feel like I'm forgetting the things that he's like. He did not direct. I'm interested in revisiting I Am Sam. Remember that? the
Never Go Full Tard, man. Never Go Full Tard.
The Beatles cover soundtrack filled autism film that he was in.
Oh, I do remember. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna spell it out for our listeners. IMDb says, which is my whatever the disclaimer, that in 1991 he directed The Indian Runner, and then in '93 he directed a Shania. Boy, this beer Shania. This beer has got me, man.
Shania Twain.
We gotta talk about the beer after this, because I am.
Shania Twain.
I got them loose lipped now. Shania Twain.
Shania Taint.
Don't say taint. Never say taint. Shania Twain, Dance with the One That Brought You. Video short. Okay. Crossing Guard, 95. And then Jewel, You Were Meant for Me, version 2 in 1996.
I didn't know that he directed music videos. That's interesting. There is a Jewel song in this movie.
Yeah, he was a Jewel fan, evidently. The Pledge, which I'm pretty sure also stars Jack Nicholson. Because, Jack was his pal, and Jack would work for nothing. Anyway,
it just reeks of an Inside the Actor studio.
It really does. It really does.
This movie you just.
All right, Bruce Springsteen. Butch
Springsteen.
That's the Jewish one. Bruce Springsteen, the complete video anthology, 1978 to 2000 video documentary, Video Highway Patrolman from 2001. Also, September 11th, Segment USA.
Oh,
2002, Peter Gabriel, Play.
So I feel a lot of music videos.
I feel like he went a little Patrick Bateman on us right at the turn of the century, and then Into the Wild.
Oh, you know what? I like that movie a lot.
I like that movie a lot.
Yeah.
I read a long piece on that movie. I read the book and wrote a long piece on that.
So I think he was finding his voice a bit by then.
No,
also, he's not writing his own shit, which is good.
Yeah, but
Does that movie suck?
well,
I haven't seen it since about 2003.
Here's the problem: is the movie that he made in 2016 with Charlize Theron, The Last Face, which I had to suffer through in Cannes. I don't even. It got some kind of half-assed release. You are so lucky with Javier Bardem. You are so lucky to have never seen this movie. It is the worst.
Charlize Theron and Javier Bardem.
Oh my God! It is horrible.
That's a bummer.
Horrible. The Last Face. I creamed that movie when I saw it at Cannes. You were there, 2016? No, you were 15.
15.
Yeah, no, it was the next year.
So
yeah, that thing's terrible.
So Into the Wild is the respect.
It has a 4.1 on IMDb.
That's impressive.
And it should be a 0.
So Into the Wild is the good movie he made
That's right.
with Emile Hirsch.
That's right.
The renowned,
the somewhat narcissistic actor Emile Hirsch.
I believe
and perhaps misogynistic
assaulter of people
of PR people.
Yeah.
What did he do to that poor girl?
There's video. He like lunged across the table and
video?
like I think I've seen the video. He like lunged across the table and like hit her in the face.
For what?
I'm sure she was like, Emile, you want the carrots?
No way.
No, I don't know.
Was he being diva boy?
He's being a bit diva. I think it was career related or a joke.
Oh, he was drunk.
Yeah, who knows if it was the only time he's done something like that or the 1,000th time he's done something like that. But all I know is you see more Paul Dano than Emile Hirsch these days. And it's not because Paul Dano's cuter.
Dano. He's a nice guy. He's awesome.
He's a great actor, too. I think that really is a big reason why you see more of him these days.
Yeah, but Emile Hirsch was great, too. He just, he lost his...
He lost his mind.
Well, there you go. He lost his mind. I think you're right. Yeah. It's too bad, because he did some great work. Anyway, so...
You know it's a good movie.
Tell me. Let's talk about other movies. I want to talk about other movies.
I was about to say, you know it's a good movie where we just start talking about other movies and just like actors for a really long time. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't even want to get back to it. I don't feel bad for doing it.
I don't either. I feel no regret.
David Morris, is he big in like the Shawshank Redemption? Why do I know his face like the back of my hand, but can't think of a single movie he's in?
He is definitely a very prolific character actor of stage and screen.
He's certainly played innumerable ex-cons with a heart of gold.
Yeah, he's really got the ex-con look about him. There's no question. Well, he did The Green Mile.
Yeah.
Contact, The Hurt Locker, The Rock, which was the movie that broke Nicolas Cage.
What you mean?
And when I mean,
destroyed? You mean destroyed?
Yeah, destroyed. I don't mean broke him in the good way.
Yeah,
that broke him as an actor.
Why did that one break him?
Because that was the one where he left all acting technique behind and said, I am now Nicolas Cage.
His whole thing,
actor. He says I am the character.
Chaotic shamanism, I think, is how he defines it, or something like that.
Is that how he calls himself now?
Yeah. Oh no, he's been doing that for like 20 years. Is he?
So let's just talk about David Morris for a second, because it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
This guy has 92 credits to his name.
I believe it. I've seen this guy a trillion times.
Yeah, he's in everything. He's like Celia Weston. You know who Celia Weston is?
No, I was going to compare him to Dylan Baker. You know,
Celia Weston, I see her in this neighborhood all the time. She's on Broadway right now doing Marvin's Room with Janine Garofalo and Lily Taylor.
Is she on the one of the leads on the poster?
She was in Dead Man Walking and all kinds of stuff. I mean, she's got probably just as many credits to her name, but no one knows who she is. It's amazing. Winter in the Blood. No, I don't even know what that movie is. I've never heard of that. World War Z. We're talking about David Morris movies.
But this is like
The Odd Life of Timothy Green. There's a magical realist movie for you.
That seems like a piece of shit.
Well, it wasn't so good. Passengers, Disturbia, 16 Blocks, Dreamer, inspired by a true story. That sounds like a made-for-TV
So, I mean, the character actors are interesting, right? Because
12 Monkeys. He was in 12 Monkeys.
You can get more work as a recognizable but not overly recognizable character actor. No one's going to a movie to see David Morris, but they will cast you in a second because they trust you and you're obviously a professional.
Oh, yeah.
Where if you're a movie star, you can only be in so many movies a year, and you're getting paid 10 times what David Morse is being paid.
Or more.
But you don't. Robert Duvall, I remember about 12 years ago, I remember reading a news story. He was in Ted Turner's Civil War, and they said that it was his like 99th movie. And so he's been in 120 now. Yeah. And I think Robert Duvall is a household name.
Absolutely. Godfather.
But he's not Al Pacino.
Right.
And I think you'll always be more prolific as that character actor and get more interesting stuff where they want Jack to be Jack, but David Morse, yeah, they'll cast you in all kinds of weird things.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think about who's dying lonely. Jack Nicholson.
I agree.
You know, poor old man. He's up in the Hollywood Hills all alone, and no one. You know, if anyone's taking care of him, it's because he's paying him.
I was gonna say that he's probably living a lot like his character in The Crossing Guard. But you know what? I don't want to talk about that movie anymore.
All right, we left. Leave that one alone. Let's talk about Robin Wright. What do you think about Robin Wright's career? I think it's fascinating and really great. And recently, I saw a lot of kind of memes about people connecting the fact that Princess Buttercup was the warrior general in Wonder Woman, which just makes me feel old, and it's very bizarre to me that dot's not connected. And also, she had what I think is as seminal, iconic of a role as anything, which is as Claire Underwood on House of Cards. Yeah,
people. It's just interesting to see what people recognize people from and what like universe they live in, where they're extremely familiar with the Princess Bride and with the supporting cast of Wonder Woman, but have never seen House of Cards. That's interesting to me. But her career, I'm not terribly familiar with it. I want to hear some things that I haven't known of, but to put the bookends being, I believe, the Princess Bride. So I bet.
She's not Robin Wright-Penn anymore, and that was a big.
She wasn't here in Crossing Guard yet. It was just Robin Wright on this one.
Right. I think they were together, but maybe they weren't married yet. But so she has 54 credits to her name on IMDb, which is a sizable amount. And the main things that she is known for is Forrest Gump, Princess Bride, House of Cards, and Beowulf.
I would disagree with that assessment. She's in Mystic River, right?
Yes, I believe she is in Mystic River.
I think she's Robin Wright-Penn in that for another week and a half.
I'm looking for that one.
That movie was released.
White Oleander.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, The Pledge. That's another Sean Penn directed film. Hurly Burly. Remember that one? Did you ever see that one?
What is Hurly Burly? That's kind of familiar.
That's the adaptation of the stage play. And who directed that? Somebody we don't know, but it's based on the David Ray play. And she has a big role in that. It's Kevin Spacey and Chaz Palminteri. So that's from 1998. Boy, we could just go on for years like this doing Le Grande Bouffe, because
I will bring up a thing about this movie, which is, I'll call it almost interesting. This party that this ex-con gets invited to, which is clearly a party that Sean Penn and Robin Wright go to once a week, which is this weird, like, sort of 1960s village version of woke people calling each other out. Yeah, they're
smoking pot.
They're smoking,
drinking wine.
They're smoking dope, drinking a little vino, and in vino veritas, and they're calling each other out. And this girl who's delivering what sounds like the thesis of the film, which is something like, you look around and you see like a black person dying in the street and you have empathy for them, but you see a rich person crying and you don't have any empathy because there's nothing about them that tells you socially that you should feel bad for them because they have money. And don't you think that maybe you should feel bad for them? You know, for 1995, I think that's pretty cool that you guys take for granted that all of society has empathy for black people dying in the street. Because we're here in 2017 saying that's not where we're at.
Well, that's because
but that's cool in 1995. You were that progressive.
They hadn't read American Psycho yet.
Okay. In the universe where only movies and books of movies. Yeah, it's weird. So anyway, it's like
no, there's something that's so damn smug about this movie.
This movie came out of that. Like, this movie was invented at one of these parties within the movie. You know what I'm saying? It's like he and all his friends got together and they were like, you know what someone should do is just like really make it clear that like even people with money, like you, for example, Sean, like you suffer. Like, people think like, oh, this movie star, oh, like Fast Times guy, like he never feels bad, but you do.
Well, remember when they did? I mean, you've seen Team America, and supposedly, I don't know, where the line of truth ends, but Matt Stone and Trey Parker, of course, they really satirize Sean Penn's whole political stance in that movie. We
talked about the weird shit he gets into.
And supposedly he took umbrage and wrote this very so sincere letter to them, dressing them down for satirizing him and how they're full of shit and he's not. And if he did that out of humor, all props to Sean.
What? Of course he didn't.
But it still comes off as him being smug, and it really does draw that question about why would you make this movie? If your sincerity runs so deep and your integrity runs so deep, it's not on the screen, buddy.
And let's spell it out. It takes someone who really like, make up your mind. Is this guy from the wrong side of the tracks and was involved in something really horrendous and is making atoning? Like, he's not a drug dealer that killed a bunch of people that saw the errors of his ways in prison. He's a guy who
paid his dues to society,
committed a hit and run, and
beat his own head against the bars of his cell so that he's permanently disfigured.
It's interesting. Like, it goes out of its way to make sure to you that
this guy has paid his dues.
Yeah, and that he's a good guy. He made a mistake. He drove, like, I don't want to minimize leaving the scene of a crime.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fucked up thing to do. And honestly, I think it's a lot worse than many things that people get equal time for.
Let's talk about it in New York terms, because they did a piece on NPR about 6 months ago about how to get away with murder. You want to know how that is?
You just hit someone with your car.
You hit a bicyclist with your car.
But you don't drive away. You drive away, you'll go to jail.
Yeah, but
if you pull over the side of the street,
if you kill a pedestrian in New York City or a bicyclist with your car,
it's the same price as.
You go nowhere. You don't even get fined. No, so sorry.
I think it's like $300. It's literally the same price as getting your car towed. I've had my car towed at like.
No, getting your car towed can cost you $15,000.
Well, it depends how long you leave. I've had
my car towed what kind of car it is?
I've had my car towed from Manhattan twice.
Oh,
$300 each time. It's fucking
terrible.
Pain in the ass.
You got off cheap.
But it's better than Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, you're liable to, because Manhattan's 24 hours. You just go get it. It's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, over on the pier.
And the fucking pier. It's so funny. You wait, you pay, and then you get in this cop car, which is actually a Prius, and you get in there with like 4 other people whose cars were also towed, and they drive you around in this like poor woman at like 3 a.m. who I guess is a police officer, is just like, tell me when you see your car. They kind of know where the spots are. It's a crazy experience. But yeah, you could suffer that or just kill someone in your car, and it's the same cost. So he committed that crime when he drove away.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting. It's like he doesn't let himself pull the punch, or he does pull the punch that this is someone who's committed a real heinous offense.
Mm-hmm.
He hits you so hard over the head that he's a good guy. So where's the movement? Where's the character growth?
You tell me. I don't see any in this movie. I don't get it. Like I said, there's no sense of we're looking up at a scene right now where he's talking to his parents, played by Piper Laurie, and I don't know who plays the dad, and he's talking about how he loves them, but he's very conflicted. And
wait, who is the dad? Is that the guy from Deadwood?
I don't know.
Who is that guy?
I don't know.
Yeah, but it's Piper Laurie, totally.
But this is where you get that understanding that, okay, this is the protagonist. Here's the guy that we're supposed to be looking to as our guide through this story. But there's just so much damn Jack Nicholson in that black suit and white shirt.
But also this guy, he's too good at communicating. And he communicates like he's in a therapy session and he's kicking ass in it.
Yeah.
He's not struggling with turning his actions into words. He's doing a great job at it in a way that makes it very non-compelling, and there's no motion, there's no movement. He's just saying what a person in a situation should be saying, which is, I really appreciate you guys. You are great. I don't know why.
Well, that's the thing is, at this point in his career, everybody thought that Sean Penn was, he was one of the greatest American actors, and
what was his pedigree that was making people.
Well, he started out with Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Wait, he's playing is Spicoli, right? That's his Spinoli. Spicoli.
Yeah.
There's the guy who ordered pizza, right?
And then he did Bad Boys. You know about Bad Boys?
Not that Bad Boys.
No, not that Bad Boys. A different one.
Yeah. So here's a real question, and I've taken so long to get to it. Who the fuck did he convince to let him make this movie? How did he get the Weinsteins? Who said this is early Miramax? This is early Miramax.
He was a very well respected actor. That's what happened. He came along. He did.
And why did
I guess he had done TV? He did TV early. He had a small role in Taps, and then he broke out with Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
He followed it up with Bad Boys, Risky Business, with the opposite time Tom Cruise.
Totally forgot he was in Risky Business. I remember Curtis Armstrong more than.
At Close Range with Christopher Walken. That's a crazy ass movie. Speaking of Robert Duvall, Colors, badass movie. Still a great milestone movie of hip hop culture. Then Casualties of War, which is that's Oliver Stone, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
With Michael J. Fox. Brian De Palma. Brian De Palma with Michael
these
J. Fox.
movies haven't resonated, haven't stuck, haven't survived the test of time.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true.
In a superficial way, we're not.
At Close Range, Casualties of War, State of Grace, Carlito's Way. Remember
Carlito's Way? Yeah. De Palma.
That was what's his name? The Brooklyn guy. Oh, look at this shot. I hate this shot. So stupid with the We're at the gravesite.
We're at the cemetery.
He's visiting the little bronze sheep thing.
Oh, there are the kids. So he's visiting the grave of the girl that he killed.
And there are the boys. There are ostensibly Angelica Houston and Jack Nicholson's
There indeed
sons,
are some children
who he does not give a darn about. The Game. He was Sean Penn did The Game.
Oh, he's great in The Game.
Thin Red Line.
Oh,
By that time,
Red Line. Yes.
He was full on. So,
but that's post this movie, I believe. I think the Thin Red Line is after.
I really want to make fun of I Am Sam. It has a 7.6 rate.
I Am Sam does.
Yes.
All right, that's a little bit the internet talking though. Like it's like
of course it is.
It's not a good movie, but it's not a 7.9. Wait, out of 10?
Yeah, 7.6.
Oh no, I thought you meant like out of 100.
No, out of 10.
Oh, okay, no, that's outrageous.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
No,
yeah,
it's
Michelle Pfeiffer and Sean Penn, and dare I say that he does break the rule and he goes full tard.
Yeah,
full tard. It's painful to watch. Dakota Fanning, Diane Wiest, Laura Dern.
You know, there's a show. I think it's a Netflix show about autism that's out now, and I don't know if I that's about as much as I know about it. Now, I'm not even positive it's Netflix, but I'm interested in seeing it and seeing where because I've seen a backlash to it already. It like prides itself on like getting autism, and like,
there's so the thing about the spectrum, as they say, is that it's so wide. The whole idea of getting autism right. I mean,
right, that's an offensive concept.
It's
like getting black people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was thinking about this the other day. It's like that's such a bizarre. Like,
exactly.
Thing
it's
to
racist. It's racist. And you know what else is racist?
It's weird to call it racist, but I know what you're saying.
Do you know
like
if you were at a job, let's say you had a job at a hotel, and that all of a sudden you weren't getting any work, and that the reason that you weren't getting any work, even though you're an employee in this one department, is because other people in your department were just making sure that they took all of your work and you didn't get any. But you went down to the EEOC and you're like, hey, I have this problem. And they're like, yeah, we only deal with, discrimination. And you say, but fraud is discrimination. They don't understand that fraud is discrimination. Stealing money is okay as long as you don't do it in the name of X, Y, and Z discrimination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you can't go in and just like, because I am Scandinavian, because I am of Scandinavian descent, I am being discriminated against.
Because you can't say like
right? Or
they hate people named Rick.
Yeah, right.
They're against Ricks.
Right. No, they're not against Rick. They're not against Scandinavians. They want to steal your money, and for that reason, we can't take your case.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like these movies and stuff, at least, like I'm glad we're moving away from things that fully get something for the sake of people that aren't those people. I'm gonna plug my friend's film festival. I think I did last year too. The Defy Film Festival. They're having their second year this year in Nashville. Last year, one of their, I want to call it because I'm drunk, like their keynote movies, was a movie about a character who was autistic. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm trying to remember if I should say has autism or is autistic. I think is autistic, but I'm not sure. And it was I'm not sure if it's rated. It would be like a hard PG-13 or R, because it honestly was just an interesting, compelling movie, and it was heavily influenced by the fact that the character had autism, and that was a necessary element, but it wasn't about that. It was about a boy whose guardian dies, and he wants to go out and live his own life and like travel. And so what made him think he could do that was that he is autistic and didn't understand those challenges. But he encounters a bunch of weird shit that wasn't just giving him life lessons. People get murdered in it. It's very fascinating.
Oh, people really get murdered?
Yeah, there's a murder in it. Like it's a really interesting movie.
Well,
it's not like,
well, that's the thing is everybody wants, it's the evil influence of Hollywood where everyone wants a happy ending. Everyone wants to meet. Everyone wants their little story to have their perfect flow and vibe and perfect ending. And life is much more complicated. Any human being's life is much more complicated than that, as we know. And so autism is a form of mental illness, and there is a lot of ugliness there. And there's no, if you're really going to look at it, you have to be willing to take that subject on. And it's not comfortable. It's not predictable.
But be specific.
It doesn't fit into.
Tell a person's story. Don't tell autism's story.
Exactly. Sure. That's right. And don't go in with any preconceived expectation of what you're going to see or what you're going to receive out of it, because it's going to be, there's elements that are going to be humorous. There's things that are going to be horrifying. There's things that are going to be disgusting. And there's also going to be the social influences of hatred. And it's going to be really dark and scary and fucked up. And like you said, tell one person's story, because it's going to hurt, man. It's not going to be what you think.
Yeah, and I'm sure Sean Penn was saying that about IMC. I'm like, this is a very specific guy, you know. But there's just something that gets wrapped up in like this awards culture, this Hollywood thing, and it's just like, oh, it's so brave, and like, oh, and he's like, he did the research, you know, like he hung out, like he spent time with like 300 people, with, and he saw there, so he was doing this very specific, and it's like, I'm sure that's all true, and that's great, but it's just something just gets lost in the mess of it, and like just a lot of the
well, because you're Sean Penn, you know, and so, you know, there's going, and you know, you have to campaign for those awards, by the way.
Oh, it's intense. Yeah,
it's a very high pressured PR machine that you have to put into place to make those awards.
Do you remember when Monique did not for her role in Precious, and she was virtually blacklisted in Hollywood for her refusal to do it,
play that game.
And that really shows you the shallowness and dark side of all that, and that these people they're working terribly hard for it, and there's such a desire to have these things have symbolic meaning, but 9 times out of 10 it's just which studio. Yeah, I've seen there's that show Adam Ruins Everything, which I just get clips of because I have Facebook, and they did it on awards show culture, and that weirdly enough, similar to presidential campaigns, the candidate, film, or politician that has the most money tends to win the top prize.
Shocking.
Bizarre.
I can think of so many corollaries that go along with that ideology, i.e. lobbyists.
If you have a legal case, you tend to do better if you have more money than the person you're going against.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the point that I'd like to make about this movie, The Crossing Guard, is that it does not belong on Filmstruck, and if it's on the Criterion Collection, it should be taken off. It is not worthy. This film is not worthy.
I think this film has a couple GIF-worthy things. I think the idea was great.
That's so millennial of you to say.
I know.
That is so millennial. Well, the Robin Wright dance, I would watch 3 seconds of that all day long.
I know. There's something, like, it's not good dancing, but it's
fun. No, I think it's hilarious that you latched onto the Robin, because I remember when it happened in the movie thinking, oh yeah, this is so white girl. Oh yeah. Oh, look at this.
But
it's sexy.
There's something about it where
sexy.
She knows there's a problematic.
It's sexy in that skinny white blonde girl.
There's a problematic element to it, but also it's like she knows exactly how she's dancing.
Did I mention she's not wearing a bra?
She's not wearing a bra. Yeah, and but then also you take a step back and you just know that Sean Penn is like, Robin, you know that that kind of dance that you do, you put on the hip hop music and you just like you just sort of like do your own thing. Like, I want you to do that, and you really pull him out. Like, he's in. It's not the dumps. He's.
I don't think he had to tell her that much.
Suicidal isn't really where he's at. Nothing means any.
You realize that's when they break up. That's the scene when they break up. You never see them together again after that scene.
Is that true?
Yeah, that is true.
You know what's weird? It's like I didn't even know that because
that's the breakup scene. That's not. I've broken up with girls, and it was never like that. Never like that.
She's like, I must be dancing myself. Like, you come into my life, you flow out of my life, but I still got salt and pepper, and that's all that's really important to me.
And let me put some on you right now.
She also, you know what's weird?
Oh, there she is leaning on the wall. That's what I love. Yeah, the leaning on the wall thing. That is so actorly. Look at this. This is the thing that you're not supposed to do. This is letting the actor do the thing that he or she is not supposed to do.
I was just thinking about this scene. She basically tells him, it's like, I really feel like Sean Penn has been through a lot of therapy, because a lot of what he's saying is very much like people speaking from their own truth, which is interesting because it's like, I think people should be like that. And
it's funny to me that we came at these movies at Antichrist and The Crossing Guard, and they're about similar stuff. And Lars von Trier's therapy very different from Sean Penn's therapy.
This opens. This
looks like To Live and Die in L.A. This looks like a scene from a William Friedkin. This is one of my favorite shots in the whole movie. Does not really play as L.A. Like, what is that bridge? But that looks like a scene from a Friedkin movie. I like that shot.
This is gritty LA. This is the LA that, like, people who, like, if you're here, if you live in the city, you understand.
It's the crepuscule. It's sunset.
So she has this scene where she's like, I don't know if there's enough room for me with all your grief, which is a very like well-adjusted thing to say to a person who's recently left prison, you know,
who you slept with twice.
Yeah.
It's a little heavy-handed. Everything about this movie is, to put it in chestnut film critic terms, is overwrought and ham-fisted. And underdeveloped. Oops, I almost left the underdeveloped out.
He's skyscraping her. It's outrageous. It's wow. He must be 6'4".
He's 6'4". He is 6'4".
He's 6. Oh,
he is
fuck
6'4".
Yeah. And she must be 5'2".
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Gotta be.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's insane. You know, she's a spinner and he's a bear, and he's a bear.
He's
classic bear spinner relationship. Okay.
And then, so we're just watching the movie.
I don't think those terms existed in '95.
No, I don't think so. Jack's relationship with these dancers is so fascinating. And so this is I want to call her Baby Cher.
Yeah, she's Baby Cher.
And she is
Cher sauce. And
she's basically like, can we just have a relationship?
Right, because she's got some more plastic surgery to pay for. You know, that's she's only been through a couple of rounds. She's got some more plastic to pay for.
She's.
We know that he's a voyeur because he's got the telescope in his apartment.
Yeah. So she's calling him out for not just shacking up.
This is a little sexualized and videotape kind of scene because he's got the telescope where the camera tripod would be.
And this thing is like, is he an archetype? Is he a thing? Like, what is he?
He's a smoker with his fly down, is what he is.
Yeah, yeah. He
likes Hennessy and he likes Courvoisier.
This movie both telegraphs things so heavy, and then also, I'm not sure what it's trying to tell me. So. She's a sex worker who was staying at his apartment overnight, or is this her apartment?
No, it's his apartment.
It's his apartment. She was there that night. He's coming home with this fly down, so she's acting kind of like a hurt housewife, and he's been philandering, and it's just
melodrama. It's melodrama. This whole thing is melodrama. You know, if you were gonna say, "Oh, it's called The Crossing Guard," what genre is it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a melodrama.
You know, we've not addressed it. I'm not terribly interested in addressing why it's called The Crossing Guard.
Yeah, need to get one little moment of the crossing guard being there, and he looks at Nicholson. Nicholson looks at him. It doesn't make any sense.
Nicholson had a dream that he was the one who killed his daughter, and that there was a crossing guard. I mean, it's like, it reminds you of a play your friend wrote that made you go to a reading of. Like, he never actually got it set up to be a production, but like you went to a reading and you were like, yeah, great play, dude. I enjoyed your play. That was a good play. You know, like that's what it reminds me of. But this thing is that your friend didn't write a play that never staged.
Oh, there was an axial cut. There's the axial cut.
It's your friend is Sean Penn, who knows Jack Nicholson.
Did you catch it?
Who knows Angelica Houston, and he got $3 million from the Weinsteins to make this movie, and you have to go to the premiere and be like, "Hey, I liked it. It was really cool."
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the Crossing Guard. Don't waste your time. It's unwatchable. We had fun dishing the dirt on it, but I don't think we're going to be returning to any more Sean Penn films. Look at that zoom. The zoom.
Sorry.
That hurt me. I think I got to go get my eye looked at the eye doctor now.
So, yeah, just real quick. Yeah, there's this like motif of people marking things off calendars, and they do it in a really confusing, weird way where like first they're crossing out days in the future, and then they're crossing out days before that.
Well, it's not it's Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, and then there was just a very intense zoom onto the calendar while he's crossing it out. It's just a bit much.
I mean, you know, no one, like I said, I'm pretty sure no one took a paycheck for this movie. Everyone did it as a labor of love. God bless them. And we'll leave it at that. Thank you all so much for listening. We didn't talk about the beer, Mike. You got to introduce the beer before we cut out. That's all right. All right. Hey, this is the big moment. Drum roll. And the beer is...
So this is called the Undead Party Crasher.
The Undead Party Crasher.
Because I think Jack Nicholson is a bit of a party crasher here on a guy who's trying to live his life.
We could reconceptualize the whole movie where Jack Nicholson is a zombie.
You know what? He basically is. He's pretty good. This is coming out of a brewery, I believe, called it's Clown Shoes out of Ipswich, Massachusetts. And
what's the brewery?
Clown Shoes.
Clown Shoes, but not my clown shoes. I wonder if you got to have your boombox. We're at the scene, by the way. It's a perfect place to end the movie because we're at the scene.
This is the scene.
I mean, in the podcast.
I love it.
Look, the first thing he does, he comes in the apartment and he just slunks down on the floor. He's a beaten down man.
It is so out of like
actor
a
school.
101 acting class.
It really is.
And
what you're not supposed to do.
Your too tall actor comes in and just lays on the ground, puts his hand in his face, and he's like, "Don't even ask me what's wrong." Like, ugh.
She's like, well, let me think. I just showered and douched, so I'm ready for something different.
I was more gonna say like, well, I'm your very empathic, super tolerant.
She can't wait
woman.
can't wait to hit play on that boombox. She's playing cat and mouse right now, but all she's thinking about is hitting play on that boombox.
She was playing it before he came in.
Oh look, she's kind of sliding over to the boombox. I'm gonna. It's on. It's on.
She's doing her.
Oh, the bad white girl. Look at that dance.
It's all in the wrists. That's where the white girl dances. It's all in the wrist. She weighs 39 pounds. I'm worried for 1995.
Robin
Wright. I'm worried.
Yeah, she's a spinner.
Stop saying that, please. This beer is great. I like it. It's very heavy. It's
11.5.
10.5.
Yeah, if you're wondering why Mike and I, especially me, because Mike hasn't finished his beer like a
an American
like a grown adult
Imperial
should.
Stout, and we've learned what Imperial Stout means, right?
It means it's coming on strong, baby.
It's well, we know the Imperial IPA. I'm not sure the Imperial Stout, but I think
it's a stout. It's got
but the Imperial.
It's a dark beer.
We know the Imperial IPA.
Imperial means it's got a lot of ABV.
Yeah, it's the higher ABV, but it's not necessarily such a harsh taste on it. They have a different.
Well, I wouldn't say harsh.
Process.
It's more of a coffee flavor.
Right. I know. When the IPA
flavor.
is Imperial versus Session, it's a higher ABV, but it's not like more hoppy necessarily, right? And so I don't know how that translates to. I can't
believe her dance is over. Like that's all it was. I needed some.
Bro,
I wanted some more.
No, it's literally GIF length. Like it's not much more, but
yeah. So Clown Shoes it has a very cartoonish gamer.
Well, it's
a gamer kind of label, right?
Well, it's a comic book kind of a theme there. We have a bunch of and so there's a Frankenstein, there's a leprechaun, there's a ring girl, there's kind of a
it's like a gamer theme.
A wolfman with
the wolfman.
There's a wolfman with a stake going through his chest, which is sort of inaccurate. I'll call it out right there. But,
David Morse walked out the door, and she went on about her dance. Okay,
so that's her last scene, right?
Yeah, that's her last scene.
She's like what a man, you know.
Welcome, trademark attorneys. In a world of uncertain hardship and people trying.
Cole is
to
reading
hold
the beer
us back,
right now.
Do we need the undead and trademark attorneys too? Clown Shoes says, no. Something. I can't read it. It's hard to read.
Yeah,
I need my magnifying glass.
I dig
but
this.
It's a very tasty beer.
Yeah, I love this.
And it's definitely a one and done because this baby's got some ABV.
I love a good stout, and if you split this baby, you're doing good.
Yeah, we got a bomber of it. We split a bomber of it. And so we would really, really, really like to encourage you guys to check out the Cole Smithey Patreon page. Look, just $5 a month. You know how terrible NPR is, and you give those people money, or whoever you give money to. You got some kind of subscription that you're paying something for, or
well, they got Super PAC.
I know you're throwing down more than $5 or $10 a month at Starbucks.
Casper mattresses.
For those baristas, you got to tell them you ordered 3 times and they still don't get it right.
Blue Apron.
You know, $250. If you just threw $250 a podcast
Texture.
at us, that's $10 a month.
$10 a month.
And that would really be great. And there's a reward. I'll thank you on the film blog, and we'll mention you on the podcast. We'll thank you on the podcast.
You give enough, you can be on the show.
That's true. That's a very good point, Mike.
Paying for your flight unless you pay us a crazy amount of money, but anything's possible.
Yeah, anything is possible, and we will tell you which beer to get, because we'll have you can be live drinking the same beer that we are as we're doing the podcast with you while you're on the phone. You don't even have to leave the comfort of your home.
I'm going to be honest, because people haven't given enough money. I have a day job, and in my day job, I do a lot of live streaming and remote video streams. We could have you here live. You could do a remote episode if you give enough money. We could make this work.
I like it.
You give enough money, I can quit my job. I can fly out to you. I can move in your house. I can eat your breakfast cereal. I can date your daughter, and things will go.
And Mike is a compact guy.
Oh yeah, he
doesn't take up that much space. It's pretty good.
Twin bed. I'm in.
And hey, I've started my walking tour. Fifth and Park walking tour is on. It starts every day, Sunday through Friday, in front of the Guggenheim at 88th and 5th Avenue at noon.
No, Cole, that's cute, but I thought you had to be a certified New York City tour guide.
That's right, sightseeing guide. Yeah.
You're a legitimate.
I've got my license.
Absolutely, you have your license.
Yeah.
Well, that's a real damn tour.
I know, it's for real.
That's worth the money.
It's 90 minutes. Bring a bottle of water, because you're not going to have much chance to buy one on the tour. 90-minute walking tour. Starts in front of the Guggenheim and ends in front of the Met. So when you're done with me, you can go give the Met $1 and tour the Metropolitan Museum and their nice, comfortable.
I know we've seen a bunch of movies.
Million square feet of air-conditioned space.
I know we've seen a bunch of movies that take place around here. Even
There's
recently.
so many. There are so many. The Devil's Advocate is the one I've got to watch again. I haven't seen that one in a long time.
All I want to know is, this is a pass-fail on you. Do I get to see where Paul Allen's apartment is from American Psycho?
You bet. First thing.
I'm in.
Yep.
I'm in.
Yep. Thank you all so much for listening, and hopefully for pledging your support to us through Patreon. Please, ladies and gentlemen, remember to turn your cell phones off as much as possible in life, because it makes you a better human being, but especially when you're walking, driving, riding a bicycle, or watching a movie.